Hey, I'm Zarina Matcha, and you're watching The Rational Female, formerly known as Non-Feminist Gal. I grew up believing that feminism was a pro-equality movement that supported women and was all about achieving gender equality between the sexes. Now, at the age of 25, I consider myself an anti-feminist, egalitarian, humanitarian, and someone who supports equal rights for both men and women. The dictionary definition of feminism is that it is a movement for social, legal, and economic equality of the sexes on the basis of women's rights. Having done years of research and continuing to do so, I believe that this definition is false. Feminism, as I see it, is not about advocating for women's equality, helping women to become better people, helping women to maximize our potential, embracing female sexuality, supporting women achieving positive things in the workplace, or about uplifting women and celebrating our feminine strengths. The definition of feminism that I now see is this. Feminism is a social and political ideology that views women as an oppressed social class under a patriarchal society and seeks to liberate women from that patriarchal society through the dismantling of gender roles. I know that this is not the definition that we have been taught. For the last 6 decades, we have all been led to believe that feminism is a pro-female movement that supports women's equality and uplifts and celebrates women. Yet the amount of evidence to the contrary is so prevalent. Contrary to popular belief, Western feminism did not start with the suffragettes or early women's advocacy. It started in 1963 with Betty Friedan publishing the book The Feminine Mystique. This is where the narrative of women being collectively oppressed and the idea of gender roles being a social construct created to undermine women was first pushed. The majority of women, even women who call themselves feminists, are not actually feminists with a capital F. The reason for this is that feminism is antithetical to what most women desire in life, which is a loving, happy, and stable relationship with a man. Most women desire to have wholesome, meaningful relationships with men, and feminism is a movement designed to divide women against men. Feminism teaches women to fear men by telling us that we live in a rape culture or pushing narratives that make the crimes committed by a few men reflective of the entire male population. Feminism doesn't teach women how to love and cherish men or how to have positive relationships with men. By the way, I know that not all women are interested in romantic relationships and that some women are lesbians. But even women who are single or who are lesbians don't really have much to gain from becoming feminists either. This is because feminism also teaches women that we are oppressed and tells us from a young age that we are victims of social injustice. It doesn't uplift women or help us maximize our potential and become better people. If women believe that we are oppressed from birth by virtue of being born female, we are automatically stuck in a state of limiting beliefs. Thus, we cannot grow and become the confident, empowered women that we truly desire and deserve to be. Feminism has dominated the female social zeitgeist throughout the world for the past 6 decades. Because most people don't understand that feminism is a political movement, anything that any woman does is nowadays cast under the umbrella of feminism. Any woman who advocates for women's rights or female empowerment is now cast under the blanket of feminism. Feminism should really have run its course by the 1980s, but the rise of girl power and corporate feminism, which sold the more pro-female narrative as opposed to the original smash the patriarchy narrative, took over. This made people forget the original aims and goals of feminism, which was always about liberating women from this falsely constructed patriarchy. I do think that girl power and celebrating female independence is a good thing. However, I hold that supporting girl power and women's individual freedom doesn't have anything to do with feminism. Celebrating individual liberty comes from liberalism, which is about freedom of the individual and maximizing individual potential. Feminism is not a liberal movement. It is a Marxist movement and takes many of its ideas from cultural Marxism, otherwise known as neo-Marxism or critical theory, which is a body of ideas that views various social groups as oppressed social classes. This is where we get narratives such as all women are oppressed, all black people are oppressed, all LGBT people are oppressed, and so on. It is true that various groups of people have faced severe social and political difficulties in the past and still do face these difficulties in certain parts of the world today. However, the cultural Marxist view of the world, and by extension feminist view of the world, holds that all cisgendered, heterosexual, white men have been responsible for every single societal evil that humans are facing today since the dawn of time. This idea is extremely dangerous because of how reductive and simplistic it is. For example, while it's true that the transatlantic slave trade was one of the most evil and horrendous things to happen in human history, many people don't actually know that between the 15 and 1800s, North African Muslim pirates captured over 1 million white Christian slaves as part of the Ottoman Empire. Slavery and racism has been around for a very long time. Human history did not start 100 years ago. Humans have been enslaving and murdering and pillaging each other for a very long time. This was not all invented by white people. This brings me to the main point of this video. For the last 7 years now, I have witnessed Western society become more and more divided regarding social and political views. I have watched as many extreme, woke, left-wing fundamentalists have attempted to dominate social and political thought, mostly through academia and the internet. I have also watched as those who speak out against those people are labelled far-right and neo-Nazis. It is very true that there are actual far-right, neo-Nazi, white supremacist people out there who do hold extremely toxic and also incredibly dangerous views, and I'm not condoning them whatsoever, nor am I affiliated with them in any way. However, the majority of people who are against feminism, like myself, and who are equally against the woke agenda, are people who hold quite moderate, balanced, usually centre-leaning opinions. The majority of non-feminist women do not believe that women should all be in the kitchen and shouldn't pursue careers. I have always been a proud, career-oriented, purpose-driven woman. I have always supported the freedom of the individual to create and expand and grow. I am a 25-year-old woman who is a published author of over 20 books. No one can ever accuse me of being some domesticated, stay-at-home woman. But that doesn't mean that I have to be a feminist or that I owe anything to the post-1960s Anglophonic feminist movement. I think that feminism is antithetical to women's social progress because it teaches women that we are oppressed. I feel the same way about all forms of cultural Marxism and left-wing identity politics. White left-wing intellectuals for decades now have sat and told black people that we are oppressed, even though I do not believe that black people in the United Kingdom or even across the Western world are systemically oppressed in ways that we were in the past. I think that a lot of white, left-wing, cultural Marxist-leaning folk like to believe that people of colour are oppressed because it elevates them to a position of superiority and makes them feel self-important and self-righteous. Malcolm X even said that white liberals, God, I really hate that misuse of the term liberal, are more deceitful and hypocritical than white conservatives, and this is very apparent with wokeism. Wokeism is really just an excuse for white, culturally left-wing people to exercise a degree of self-righteousness over people of colour to attempt to limit our potential, rather than telling us that we're not systemically oppressed, that we can work through racial differences and social injustices to actually maximise our power and find our true potential. As a young, black and mixed-raced woman, I don't need any white left-wing intellectuals to speak on my behalf, or to tell me that I am oppressed due to the colour of my skin or my gender, or that I don't have any social privileges. I have even had people in my personal life, including friends whom I deeply care about, make these sorts of comments towards me, and while I understand that it does come from the best of intent, I am now firmly putting my foot down. I refuse to allow a small minority of woke, left-wing fundamentalists tell me that I am oppressed because I am a woman or because I am brown. I refuse to engage with any of this toxic rhetoric. And if you feel the same way as I do, then I encourage you to do the same. We don't have to submit to this narrative of false oppression. Non-feminist women, of whom the majority of women are, shouldn't let feminists shame women into believing that we are oppressed or that we need to smash the patriarchy. There is no systemic patriarchy in the UK or in any Western country currently oppressing women or holding us back from succeeding and achieving great things. As I alluded to earlier, I am not particularly socially conservative. I am definitely left of the lotus eaters. My goal in life has never been to be a stay-at-home housewife. Many anti-feminist women, such as Suzanne Venker and Abby Shapiro, hold extremely socially conservative views that I personally cannot relate to. So I want to provide a space here for more liberal-minded women and men to know that we are not alone and that actually anti-feminist women lie all across the political spectrum. I can support abortion, sex positivity, career freedom, and so on, and still be an anti-feminist, because feminism doesn't really have anything to do with those things and is not so thankful for those things. We don't need to allow ourselves to be gaslit by feminists into believing that we women are oppressed or that we are uneducated morons who have misunderstood what feminism is. I know exactly what feminism is, which is exactly why I don't support it. If you look at some of the most well-known feminists, Kate Millett, Betty Friedan, Gloria Steinem, Andrea Dworkin, Catherine McKinnon, Shayla Jeffries, Julie Bindel, Anita Sarkeesian, Jermaine Greer, Jessica Valenti, Laura Bates, Laurie Penny, they all hold and held extremely condescending views towards men. Their ideas are not something that most modern women can align ourselves with. Yet they are the minority. The majority of women, regardless of where we fall politically, don't believe that men are the enemy, gender differences are an oppressive social construct, or that women must unite and dismantle the male-dominated patriarchy. This now brings me to my 2 upcoming books. As mentioned earlier, I am a self-published author. I've published 20 books currently, 3 contemporary young adult fiction books under my name, 2 poetry volumes also under my name, and 15 romance novellas under the name Diana Vale. This year, in 2023, 2 of the books I am planning on publishing under my name, Zarina Matcha, are called The Rational Female and Tic-Tac-Toe. Tic-Tac-Toe is a young adult dystopian satirical novel I have been working on for over 5 years now, all about the extreme woke social justice ideology and what society would look like if it were pushed to its logical extreme. It's set in a future version of Britain known as Britannia, where the Social Justice Party has taken over, marriage and family has been abolished, people are now created in reproduction centres, and all men are second-class citizens. It follows a 17-year-old boy named Dennis, trying to navigate his way through this world with the aid of his friends, and he later becomes recruited by a men's activism group that seeks to overthrow the system. And yes, that is satirising MGTOW, which I don't support, by the way. The Rational Female, which is now the name of my channel, is a non-fiction book which asserts that women should have a rational, pragmatic and reasoned approach to life, men and so forth, as opposed to following feminism, which can make us become bitter, angry and distrustful of men. The book is based on many personal experiences and brings everything together in this one little collection of ideas with the essential goal of helping modern young women. While the book is focused on women's self-improvement and personal development, I will be talking a lot about feminism in that book and really critiquing feminism and discussing a lot of the damage that I believe feminism has done to gender relations. The book is essentially about how I think women can learn to maximize our potential and become the best versions of ourselves by moving away from toxic feminist messages about how we are all oppressed by some conspiratorial patriarchy. I shall be discussing this from quite a liberal, sex-positive, quite progressive-leaning perspective that doesn't advocate for a return to traditional values, but instead fuses the best of the traditional with the best of the modern to hopefully create a better future. Both books are currently in their editorial stages and I haven't got a firm release date yet. I'm hoping to release both by or before May or June of this year at the latest. This all depends on how quickly I am able to get through my current editing stages. If you want to learn more about my writing, then you can check out my author channel, Zarina Matcha Author, by going up in the cards or in the description box. As this channel expands, I am not going to only be talking about feminism, although that shall remain my main topic. I also want to talk about personal development, spirituality, relationships, sexuality, and just a lot of topics that I'll be exploring from a non-feminist, modern, liberal, and hopefully pragmatic female perspective. I want to help other women to really maximize our potential and grow as individuals and show that actually we are not oppressed, we are not victims, and we women can do great things in this world without being feminists. I have suffered with anxiety and depression and had severe panic disorder for the past years now, which has greatly crippled me in terms of being able to function in my life. I used to be an alcoholic and I spent 3 years regularly attending AA meetings. I've been having therapy and counselling since I was 16 and been speaking to the same therapist for 3 years now, which is great. I've had anger issues, I've self-harmed, I've endured sexual trauma, and really a lot of the things that so many other people in my generation have also gone through and endured. Maybe you watching this have also gone through such things. Yet I want to show people that despite struggles, we can become successful and achieve great things. We are not here on this planet to waste our lives being miserable and depressed. We can grow and become better people and learn to fulfill our potential. So do join me on this journey of becoming a rational female, or a rational male to the men out there. And yes, the name was inspired by Rollo Tommasi's The Rational Male, although I am in no way affiliated with his content. I know that he too is very much against the woke feminist narrative, although some of the things he says don't particularly resonate with me because I'm not a man. I do get it though. Men have received a lot of horrendous treatment and social backlash ever since the feminist movement, and I do think that men do need to have that support to also become the best versions of themselves, although obviously without the whole MGTOW and actual misogyny that I and most sane people are against. Feminism has been horrible to men. I would say it's probably one of the worst things to ever happen to men, so I do commend Rollo for helping thousands of young men find their purpose. Even though I don't agree with all of his viewpoints or his wording, I mean, feminine imperative does sound a tad extreme. I really hope that you enjoyed this video and that if you wish to come on this journey with me, do consider subscribing. I shall be posting videos, aiming to be posting about once a week. I do have a newsletter called Zarina's Zine, which I send out every fortnight that includes all elements of myself, from thoughts around my books and writing in general, to some of my controversial opinions, mentioning other authors, sometimes I even throw in a poem in there, etc. If you sign up, which you can do in the link below, then you will receive a free copy of my first poetry book, Art is a Waste of Time. I do also have a Patreon where I post roughly 3 to 4 times per week, and currently the first 10 people who sign up will all be entered into a giveaway where they could potentially win one of my books of their choosing, so that's a great way to follow me. I do have a blog called the Zarina Matcha blog, which is currently inactive, but I should be getting back to posting on that sometime in the coming year. Social media wise, I'm not on the main socials because they stress me out. I find them too vapid and time consuming and not great for my general anxiety and tendencies to get quite overwhelmed quickly. I do have an Instagram page just for this channel where I post about the videos, but that page was really created just to promote my channel and I'm not sure long term if I'm going to keep it, but you can follow me there if you want to. The best places to really follow me are my 2 YouTube channels, so The Rational Female and Zarina Matcha Author, my Patreon, and my fortnightly newsletter. I do also have a Discord group called Liberals Against Feminism, which is kind of a nice place to hang out and discuss opinions on feminism with other people. If you wish to contact me privately, you can email me at info@zarinamatcha.co.uk. I am continuing to grow and expand and also tap into myself spiritually as well, which will be something to further discuss on this channel. But for now, I leave you and I would love to hear your thoughts on this below. So stay tuned and thank you for watching. Yay! Otherwise known as Neo. Oh, can I balance these on my head? Gender differences are an oppressive social construct. All that I'm the rational female that doesn't advocate for a return to tradition. Oh my god, it's so hard to speak. Female.